now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Благодарю вас, госпожа председатель. Благодарим спецкоординатора Николая Младенова за обстоятельный доклад по положению в ближневосточном урегулировании. Сегодняшнее заседание проходит в знаковые дни для истории.
Today's meeting occurs on a landmark day for the history of the peace process. 40 years ago, the Camp David agreements were arrived at. 25 years ago, the Oslo Accords were struck. These are important components. These, alongside other parameters agreed upon by the international community, have comprised the bedrock of a political process which also was enriched with important UN Security Council resolutions, the Madrid Principles, the Arab Peace Initiative, and the roadmap of the Middle East Quartet of International Mediators on Middle East Settlement. At the heart of this international legal basis is the two-state solution for the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, implementation of which is contingent on the need for agreement to be reached on all final status issues, including Jerusalem, refugees, borders, and security, through direct dialogue between the Israelis and the Palestinian people. Unfortunately, these landmark dates arrived amid troubling developments in Middle East policy. Indicators are increasingly pointing to an aspiration to undermine what has been developed, including with the participation of the United States, namely the platform for a settlement. How else can one regard and view the recent decision taken by Washington on Jerusalem to close the PLO office in the United States Capitol? We genuinely fail to understand the withdrawal of financing for the United Nations Relief Works Agency and the recent refusal to continue to facilitate operations of two hospitals in East Jerusalem. Bilateral conflicts have collapsed. Even important security-related cooperation is under threat. Such measures do major damage to collective efforts to arrive at Palestinian and Israeli in a comprehensive settlement in the Middle East. There is still time to rescind the decision taken. We see the response and revision of the current approaches, which have grave consequences for prospects of the peace process, and a return to the roots of settlement. There needs to be an emphasis on rekindling international cooperation in the spirit of Russian-U.S. co-sponsorship, as well as the Madrid process. This naturally led to the establishment of the Middle East Quartet, which, as we see it, is the most effective mechanism, and which was also sponsored by the Security Council, which was approved by the Security Council. It is necessary to revitalize work to launch direct Palestinian-Israeli dialogue. In this connection, what remains relevant is our initiative to organize in Moscow a personal meeting between the Palestinian and Israeli leaders. It is necessary to reverse existing trends, which are a consequence of unilateral decisions. I am referring to cessation of settlement activities of Israel on the occupied territory, inflammatory rhetoric, and violence on the part of both sides. Of course, one cannot overlook humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people, above all in the Gaza Strip. At the same time, we proceed from the premise that robust assistance to Gaza needs to dovetail with rebuilding unity among the Palestinian ranks. We would note the important work carried out by the United Nations, specifically UNRWA, on the occupied Palestinian territories and in refugee camps. We welcome and we support the inclusion of regional players in Middle East settlement. We see and we highly value the role of Egypt and Jordan in Palestinian affairs. Russia's position on Middle East settlement remains and was and remains principled and consistent. We firmly believe that a fair solution to the Palestinian issue is of key significance to remedy the situation throughout the region. Pursuit of the conflict between Israel and Palestine, on the contrary, will constantly poison the overall international atmosphere, will have a detrimental effect on efforts to resolve other regional crises, and will fuel terrorism. We would particularly draw attention to the importance of improvement of relations within the Arab family. We are interested in a united and potent League of Arab States where all disputes are resolved on the basis of mutually respectful dialogue. We advocate revival of multilateral efforts on Middle East issues as a whole. We propose that colleagues thoroughly consider our vision to establish confidence-building measures in the Persian Gulf, which eventually should lead to the establishment of a pan-regional security architecture. This is important not just for the resolution of crises in Syria, Yemen, and Libya, but also to prevent potential conflicts. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation.